Hello everyone, and welcome back to Learning English with Noel. You are listening to episode 15 of our podcast. Today's topic is something simple but very important in everyday English: free time. Free time is something we all have, at least a little bit. It's the time when we're not working, not studying, not doing chores. It's the time we can spend however we like. And in English, people often ask, "What do you do in your free time?" That's a very common question in casual small talk, in school, even in job interviews. So today, we're going to explore this topic in a fun and relaxed way, and I'm not doing this alone. I have my good friend Lucy here with me. Lucy, welcome to episode 15.
Hi Noel. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited about today's conversation. Free time is one of those topics that everybody has an opinion about, and I think our listeners will enjoy hearing some natural English around it.
Absolutely, and, of course, we'll make sure to explain useful phrases, give examples, and even do a few role plays so that our listeners can practice English in real-life situations.
Yes, because talking about free time is a skill. It's not just about grammar. It's about sounding natural and being able to connect with people.
So, let's start with the obvious question. Lucy, what do you usually do in your free time?
That's a good one. Honestly, it depends on the day. Sometimes, if I've had a really busy week, I like to just stay home and relax, maybe read a book, maybe watch a TV series on Netflix. Other times, when I have more energy, I go outside for a walk, or I meet up with friends for coffee.
That sounds nice. And let me just pause here for our listeners. Lucy said something really useful. It depends on the day. That's a fantastic phrase you can use when someone asks about your free time. Because the truth is, most of us don't do the exact same thing every day.
Yes, exactly. If I just said, I like reading, it would sound too short. But if I say, it depends on the day. Sometimes I stay home and read, sometimes I go out with friends, then the conversation feels more alive.
Perfect example. And listeners, notice that Lucy also used the phrase, meet up with friends. That's a very natural way to say spend time with friends. You can say, I meet up with my friends for coffee, or I usually meet up with my friends at the park.
Yes, meet up is casual and friendly. It's much better than saying, I assemble with my friends. That sounds way too formal.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody says that in everyday life. So Lucy, you mentioned Netflix. What kinds of shows do you like to watch in your free time?
Oh, I like a variety. Sometimes I watch documentaries because I enjoy learning new things. Other times, I watch dramas or comedies. It depends on my mood.
There's that phrase again, it depends on my mood. Another excellent expression for our listeners, it means that the activity changes depending on how you're feeling.
There's that phrase again, it depends on my mood. Another excellent expression for our listeners. It means that the activity changes depending on how you're feeling.
That's a great way to explain. And for our listeners, you can use the sentence, it depends on my mood in many conversations, not just about free time.
What about you, Noel? What do you usually do when you're at home and you have some free time?
Well, if I'm at home, I often like to cook. Cooking is one of my favorite hobbies. I like experimenting with different recipes, especially Asian food. Lately, I've been trying to make Thai curry.
Oh wow, that sounds delicious. Cooking is such a useful hobby because you get to enjoy the food afterward.
Yes, and it's something that people can always talk about. Food is a universal topic. If you say in a conversation, I like cooking in my free time, people can ask, oh, what do you usually cook? Or, what's your favorite dish? So it opens the door to more conversation.
Exactly. And notice that Noel didn't just say, I like food. He gave details. He said, I like cooking, especially Asian food, and recently I've been trying Thai curry. That kind of answer makes the conversation more interesting.
Yes, so listeners, remember, when someone asks, what do you do in your free time, try to give specific details. Don't just say, I read books. Say, I enjoy reading novels, especially mysteries, or I usually read self-help books about psychology.
That way, the other person can ask follow-up questions.
Lucy, do you have any creative hobbies, like art, music, or photography?
Yes, actually. I really enjoy photography. Whenever I travel, I take hundreds of pictures. I love capturing landscapes, city streets, and sometimes portraits of people.
That's amazing. Photography is such a creative hobby. And here's a useful phrase for our listeners. I'm into photography. That means I like photography a lot. Instead of always saying, I like, you can say, I'm into.
Yes, exactly. I could say, I'm really into landscape photography. That means it's one of my main interests.
Perfect. So learners, practice that. Instead of saying, I like music, try, I'm into jazz music, or I'm into playing the guitar. It sounds more natural.
Speaking of music, Noel, do you play any instruments?
I used to play the guitar when I was younger. Not so much these days, but I still love music.
Oh, you used to play guitar. That's another very useful phrase for our listeners, used to. It means something you did in the past but don't do anymore.
Yes. For example, I used to play football when I was a kid, or I used to go jogging every morning, but now I don't.
That's very helpful for conversations about free time because many hobbies change over time.
Exactly. And if you want to say the opposite, something new you started doing, you can say, these days I've started, for example, these days I've started learning how to paint.
Yes, that's a great tip.
Lucy, let me ask, what did you used to do in your free time when you were a child?
When I was a child, I used to play tennis. I was part of a local tennis club, and I played every weekend. But now I don't really play anymore.
That's interesting. When I was a kid, I used to play football in the park with my friends almost every day after school. We would stay outside until it was dark.
Oh, that's wonderful. That shows another cultural difference too. In the past, kids used to play outside more. Today, many kids spend their free time indoors playing video games.
True. And for our listeners, if you like video games, a very natural way to say it is, I'm a gamer. Or you can say, I like playing online games with my friends.
Yes, and gaming is such a common hobby now that people will immediately understand.
So, Lucy, what about sports now? Do you do anything to stay active in your free time?
Yes, these days I practice yoga. I don't do it every single day, but a few times a week. It helps me relax and also stay flexible.
Yes, these days I practice yoga. I don't do it every single day, but a few times a week. It helps me relax and also stay flexible.
Swimming is excellent. And here's a useful phrase, I go swimming. Notice we don't say, I do swimming. We say, I go swimming.
Yes, exactly. Same with I go jogging, I go hiking, I go cycling. These are collocations, words that naturally go together.
Learners should memorize them as whole expressions. I go swimming, I play tennis, I do yoga. That way, you'll sound more natural.
Lucy, do you ever spend your free time just doing nothing?
Oh yes. Sometimes I just lie on the sofa, scroll on my phone, and relax.
Same here. And for our listeners, you can say, I just hang out at home, or I just chill. Those are very casual and common expressions.
Yes, and it's important to remember that not every answer has to be impressive. It's okay to say, I usually chill at home. That's real life.
Lucy, something I often notice is that people describe free time differently depending on whether they're introverts or extroverts. Some people get energy from being with others, while others recharge by being alone. Which one are you?
That's a great question, Noel. I think I'm a mix, but I lean more toward being an introvert. I enjoy socializing, but I really need my alone time. For example, after a long day at work, I love just sitting quietly with a cup of tea and a good book.
That's interesting. I think I'm more extroverted. For me, free time often means spending it with friends, maybe going out to a cafe or inviting people over for dinner. That's how I relax.
And that's such an important point for our listeners. If you're ever in an English conversation and someone asks, what do you do in your free time? You don't have to feel pressure to give the perfect answer. Just be honest. If you like quiet time, say so. If you like parties, say that.
Exactly. And remember, there are polite ways to express it. For example, an introvert could say, I enjoy quiet evenings at home, or I like spending time alone. Reading or listening to music, that sounds nice and clear.
Yes. And an extrovert might say, I love hanging out with friends, or I usually go out on weekends. Both are perfectly fine answers.
Lucy, let's dive into books a little more, since you mentioned reading. What kinds of books do you enjoy in your free time?
I love novels, especially mystery and historical fiction. A good mystery book can keep me hooked for hours. For example, I recently read a novel about a detective in Victorian London, and I couldn't put it down.
That's great, and here's a useful phrase for our listeners. I couldn't put it down. That's what you say when a book is so interesting that you don't want to stop reading.
Yes. For example, you could say, that book was amazing, I couldn't put it down. It means you read and read until the end.
I like that. Personally, in my free time, I often read nonfiction, especially books about psychology and learning. I like understanding how people think and how we can improve ourselves.
That's so useful. And when you talk about books in English, you can use the phrase, I'm interested in. So for Noel, he could say, I'm interested in psychology books. I could say, I'm interested in historical fiction.
Exactly. So, learners, instead of just saying, I like books, be more specific. Try, I'm interested in science fiction, or I'm into Lucy, what about movies? Do you watch many films in your free time?
Oh yes, I love movies. Sometimes I go to the cinema, but usually I watch at home. I enjoy all kinds of films, but my favorites are probably romantic comedies and adventure movies.
Oh yes, I love movies. Sometimes I go to the cinema, but usually I watch at home. I enjoy all kinds of films, but my favorites are probably romantic comedies and adventure movies.
Yes, and again, this is something learners can easily talk about. You can simply say, I like watching movies, but it's much better to say what type. For example, I enjoy thrillers, or I usually watch comedies.
Right? And here's another tip. You can use the phrase, I'm a big fan of. For example, I'm a big fan of science fiction movies, or I'm a big fan of Marvel films. That's a great way to show enthusiasm.
Yes. Or you can say, I'm not really into horror movies. That's a polite way to say you don't like them.
Exactly. So you can practice both what you like and what you don't like.
Yes. Or you can say, I'm not really into horror movies. That's a polite way to say you don't like them.
That's a good one. I listen to a lot of jazz and classical music when I want to relax. But if I'm cooking or cleaning, I often put on pop music, something upbeat to keep me moving.
That's great. I usually listen to indie music. Sometimes I like to explore new artists on Spotify.
Perfect. And listeners, music is such a great topic for small talk. You can use phrases like, I listen to jazz in my free time, I'm into rock music, or I'm a big fan of hip-hop.
Yes. And if you want to ask someone, you can say, what kind of music are you into? That's a very natural question.
Exactly, not what kind of music do you like. That's fine, but what are you into? Sounds friendlier.
You know, Noel, one thing I really like in my free time is traveling. Of course, I can't travel all the time, but whenever I get a few days off, I love to explore new places.
That's fantastic. Travel is one of the best hobbies because it combines relaxation, adventure, and learning.
Yes. For example, last year I went to Spain, and I spent my free days walking through old towns, visiting museums, and trying local food.
That sounds amazing. And here's a great tip for learners. If you talk about travel, always include details. Don't just say, I like traveling. Say, I like traveling, especially to warm countries, or I enjoy traveling because I love trying new foods.
Yes. It makes the conversation longer and more engaging.
For me, I really enjoy short trips, maybe just a weekend away in the mountains. It gives me energy and a change of scenery.
That's wonderful. And listeners, notice Noel used the phrase, a change of scenery. That's an idiom meaning a different environment. It's often used when you want to escape your daily routine.
Exactly, you could say, I need a change of scenery, so I'm planning a trip. Lucy, do you ever use your free time to learn new skills?
Oh yes, sometimes. For example, during the pandemic, I learned how to bake bread. I watched YouTube tutorials and practiced at home. It was so rewarding.
That's great. For me, I often use free time to practice languages. I love opening an app like Duolingo or watching a short video in another language.
That's such a productive way to spend free time. And for our learners, notice how we use the phrase, I use my free time to. That's a very clear structure. You can say, I use my free time to study English, or I use my free time to exercise.
Yes, it's a great way to show that your free time is not wasted, you're doing something valuable.
But Noel, I think it's also important to remind people that free time doesn't always have to be productive. Sometimes resting is the most important thing.
I agree completely. If you're always busy, then using your free time just to relax is perfectly fine. You can say, I spend my free time relaxing, or I spend my weekends recharging.
Exactly. So you can practice both, what you like and what you don't like.
Yes, recharging is a lovely expression. It's like charging your phone, but for your body and mind. Lucy, earlier you mentioned baking during the pandemic. That makes me curious. Do you like cooking in general, or was it just a temporary hobby?
Oh, I actually do like cooking. I'm not a professional or anything, but I enjoy experimenting with recipes in my free time. Sometimes I try international dishes, other times I just make something simple.
That's great. And for our listeners, this is another easy topic to talk about. You can say, I like cooking in my free time, or I enjoy trying new recipes on the weekend. Cooking is a universal hobby, so people always have something to add.
Yes. And even if you don't cook much, you can still say, I like eating out, or I enjoy trying new restaurants. Food is always a safe conversation topic.
Absolutely. And speaking of eating out, one of my favorite free time activities is going to little family-owned restaurants. I love discovering new flavors and dishes.
That's wonderful. I think food connects people. Even if you don't speak the same language, sharing a meal is a way of building a bridge.
That's so true. And listeners, notice Lucy used the expression build a bridge. In this case, it means create a connection.
Yes. So you can say, music builds a bridge between cultures, or food builds a bridge between strangers.
Lucy, let's talk about weekends. Many people say, on weekends What do your weekends usually look like when you're free?
That's a fun question. On weekends, if the weather is nice, I like to go for long walks in the park or even go hiking in nature. If the weather is bad, I stay home, watch movies, or call my family.
That's a good balance. For me, weekends are often social. I meet friends, maybe play some sports, or just have a barbecue.
That sounds so relaxing. And listeners, pay attention to those expressions: go hiking, watch movies, call my family. They're all everyday phrases you can use when someone asks about your weekend plans.
Exactly, and you can also use the phrase catch up on. For example, on weekends I catch up on sleep, or I catch up on housework.
Yes, that's a very natural expression. It means doing something you didn't have time for during the week.
Lucy, do you ever spend your free time volunteering?
Actually, yes. I sometimes volunteer at an animal shelter. I walk the dogs, feed the cats, and help clean. It's a simple thing, but it makes me feel good.
That's wonderful. And for learners, if you want to sound more advanced, you can say, I dedicate some of my free time to volunteering.
Yes, that sounds very professional.
Personally, I've volunteered at English clubs, helping learners practice their speaking. It's a nice way to combine teaching with free time.
That's such a rewarding activity. And listeners, notice Noel used the word rewarding. That means it makes you feel satisfied or happy inside.
Exactly. So you can say, volunteering is rewarding, or teaching children is rewarding.
Noel, can we talk about technology for a bit? Because I think many people spend their free time on their phones or computers these days.
Yes, that's true. Some people scroll through social media, others play games, others watch YouTube videos, hopefully learning English with Noel.
Yes. I think it's fair to say we all use technology in our free time. For me, I often listen to podcasts or audiobooks on my phone.
That's great. And listeners, here's a tip. If you're practicing English, you can say, I spend my free time listening to English podcasts, or I watch English videos in my free time. That way, you practice language and also have an answer ready when someone asks.
Yes. And instead of saying, I use my phone, try to be more specific. I scroll through Instagram, I watch TikToks, I play mobile games. That makes your answer stronger.
Speaking of social media, do you think it's a good or bad way to spend free time?
That's a tricky question. I think it depends. If you use it for connection, like talking to friends or learning something new, it's positive. But if you scroll mindlessly for hours, maybe it's not so healthy.
I agree. Moderation is the key. A little bit of social media can be fun, but too much can waste your time.
Yes. And for our listeners, that's another useful word, moderation. It means not too much, not too little. For example, I drink coffee in moderation.
Lucy, let's talk about cultural differences in free time. For example, in some countries, people love outdoor activities, while in others, people spend more time indoors. What do you think?
Yes, that's so true. In Europe, for example, many people enjoy cycling as a free time activity. In the US, people often drive to parks, go camping, or have barbecues. In Asia, I've noticed that shopping malls are a very popular free time destination.
That's right. And in some cultures, free time is very family-oriented. People spend weekends with parents, grandparents, cousins, all together.
Yes. For example, in Latin American countries, Sunday is often family day. People gather, cook together, and just spend the whole day chatting.
That's beautiful. And listeners, when you describe free time, you can use phrases like, I usually spend time with family, or I go out with relatives on weekends.
Noel, let me ask you, do you ever feel guilty about how you spend your free time?
That's an interesting question. Sometimes, yes. For example, if I spend 3 hours watching TV, I might feel guilty because I could have used that time to study or exercise.
I know that feeling. But I think it's important to remember that free time is meant for relaxation. We don't always have to be productive.
Exactly. Balance is important. Some days we need rest, some days we need activity.
Yes. And for our learners, you can use the phrase, I sometimes feel guilty when for example, I sometimes feel guilty when I eat too much junk food.
That's a very natural phrase. Lucy, what about hobbies you'd like to try in the future? Is there something you've always wanted to do in your free time but haven't done yet?
Oh yes. I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano. I think it would be so beautiful to sit down and play music after a long day.
That's wonderful. For me, I've always wanted to learn photography properly, not just taking pictures with my phone, but really understanding lighting and composition.
That's amazing. And listeners, here's a phrase you can use. I've always wanted to. It's a great way to talk about dreams or goals for your free time.
Yes, for example, I've always wanted to learn how to surf, or I've always wanted to travel to Japan.
Noel, can we do a quick role play? Like a conversation where two people meet for the first time and ask about free time?
Great idea. Let's do it. I'll play person A, you play person B. Hi, nice to meet you. What do you usually do in your free time?
Hi, nice to meet you too. Well, it depends. Sometimes I stay home and read, but other times I go out with friends. How about you?
I usually play football on weekends. I'm really into sports.
That's cool. Do you play with a team?
Yes, just a local team in my neighborhood. It's very fun.
And that's how easy it can be. Just a few sentences, and suddenly you have a real conversation.
Lucy, let's imagine something fun. If you had one entire week of free time, no work, no responsibilities, how would you spend it?
Wow, what a dream. I think I'd travel somewhere new. Maybe Italy, because I've always wanted to see Rome and Venice. I'd spend my days walking, eating, and taking photos.
That sounds wonderful. For me, I think I'd spend a week near the ocean, just swimming, reading on the beach, and eating seafood.
That sounds perfect. And listeners, notice how we're using future forms here. I would spend, I'd travel, I'd spend my days. This is a great way to talk about imaginary free time.
Yes. It's called the conditional form. If I had free time, I would. Very useful in English conversations. Let's also give our listeners some questions they can ask others about free time. What do you usually do on weekends? How do you spend your evenings after work? Do you have any hobbies? What kind of movies are you into? Do you play any sports in your free time?
Perfect. And if you want the conversation to continue, you can always ask why or how often. For example, how often do you go jogging, or why do you like hiking?
Yes, asking follow-up questions keeps the conversation alive.
Lucy, before we wrap up, let me ask you one more thing. What advice would you give to English learners about talking about free time?
Lucy, before we wrap up, let me ask you one more thing. What advice would you give to English learners about talking about free time?
I'd say, don't keep your answers too short. Always give details. Instead of saying, I like music, say, I'm into jazz, and I usually listen when I'm cooking. Those extra details make you sound fluent.
That's excellent advice. And I would add, learn the collocations. Remember, I play football, I go swimming, I do yoga, use the right verbs, and you'll sound natural.
Yes. And of course, practice. The more you practice talking about your free time, the easier it gets.
Well, that's all the time we have for episode 15 of Learning English with Noel Lucy. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Noel. This was so much fun.
And to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this long conversation about free time. Remember, the next time someone asks you, what do you do in your free time? You'll be ready with lots of ideas. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to Learning English with Noel for more episodes. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and enjoy your free time.